Hello, I'm Tan, the TamBoTC channel. I wanted to talk about what comic book companies do I mostly buy from and read from as well, or well, technically both. But what companies do I mostly read into or have upcoming comic books I look forward to? I don't think I was looking through my comics. I even compiled the couple of years ago, but I'm not going to do any older comics. Um, though, no, there is one specific company, comic book company, that I did buy a particular amount of older comics for sure. But looking through a lot of them, so when it comes, and even looking at the website of like upcoming stuff, so let's see, I actually don't know if I counted this, but I will say that I think the smallest is surprisingly Titan Comics that I collect from. Right now, I'm mostly looking forward to Dark Souls, and I would say Bloodborne. I didn't even know they were still doing Bloodborne comics, but I do have a decent amount if you count my bigger books, because I have that 3-book collection of Bloodborne, which I think is Titan Comics, and then I have the complete Dark Souls collection, which is also Titan Comics. So that's pretty big. And then of course I got Bloodborne. I got the first 3 Dead by Daylight, Elric, The Dreaming City. There's the Horizon Zero Dawn comics and such. But yeah, it was definitely the shortest, and now I think it is just Bloodborne and um, like losing trace of thoughts. Sorry for the brain farts. It is late as well, but I've been looking forward to just mostly Bloodborne and the Dark Souls comics that are coming out with the Willow King, I think it's called. So it is probably the smallest of the comics. That doesn't mean that I wouldn't read others or that the others aren't good. These are just the ones that I personally have interest in and want to engage in reading. So know that even if I don't read the other comic books within their publishing, know that I still I don't think like any ill will of like the company or anything. Of course not. And yeah, they make some pretty. I do love their Bloodborne and their Dark Souls. Dead by Daylight, I kind of give up on. I'm not a big fan of Life is Strange. I thought Life is Strange is a boring game series, and I know that they, as well as I have a lot of other problems with it, character-wise, and there's actually a YouTuber that does a good job of like summing it up in comparison to another series, another game that I think is good and technically better, which is can't remember the name of the game, but I remember Shammy, the YouTube channel Shammy, reviewed it and compared it to another. I think it's Night in the Woods or something it was called. I can't quite remember, but yeah, I think he compared it to that. So I think in the next place now, I do have Boom Comics technically. I hear a lot of zombies underneath us. But like Boom, I really only had like more than 11 or so Power Ranger comics, and then there was the Berserk comics by the Keanu Reeves series. But that was basically it, and there wasn't much there to really talk about in comparison to some of the others. And I thought that was going to be, for example, like Dark Horse or Image, um, but clearly, clearly not. There was also a couple other comic book companies I apparently buy from, but they were a very small group, so I didn't know if I should mention them. But I had, of course, there's the Mega Man. I have the Mega Man comic books. which I think is also Boom. And I have, what is that? Frickin' the Street Fighter comics, which I can't remember the name of that company, but I'll have to look them up and see if they have anything else interesting. So I was looking through my Image comics, of course, Spawn. I'm not as interested in Spawn nowadays. Most of the stuff I got was older Spawn stuff, but I do have like King Spawn and a couple others amongst Spawn. But I also bought into the recent Cobra Commander. There's some G.I. Joe stuff. I'm not a big G.I. Joe fan, but I do love the character Cobra Commander. He's freaking ridiculous. I love the Starscream actor who plays him from G1 Transformers, and they have, spoiler, Megatron appeared in this comic, which is pretty dope, and I like what they're hinting to. And it also helps because there is actually a Transformers series, uh, purely just called Transformers. It is Daniel Warren Johnson and Mike Spicer. I think that's, yeah, most the dudes that are writing slash in the art or illustration or whatever. There's probably a couple others, but that's what it says on the covers here. And I have the first 4 issues. I'm looking forward to the next. And yeah, I think that's mostly it from Image. Image doesn't have as much for me anymore to look forward to as I probably would have back in the day. So Image is one of the shorter ones as well. Then somehow Dark Horse is bigger than both of them, and I actually didn't really think Dark Horse was going to be that big, but then I realized ElfQuest, and they do publish a lot of ElfQuest books. Actually, the more recent Stargazers, which I have the collection versions of those books, but I also have just comic books too, regular comic books of the series, and that compiles to a big part. But I also got the volumes. I got at least 6 volumes, and they are gigantic. That is like plenty of books from them. Yeah. And those are recently bought, though I wouldn't include those into what I was talking about, but still, it's interesting enough to think about. I almost forgot, there's a Splinter Cell comic. I can't remember who publishes the Splinter Cell. Whoever publishes that, I'm going to look at that, which was technically a comic collection I also bought. But Dark Horse is one that I didn't expect to have so many, but I should have realized that I was going to have so many. So I actually have a hardcover of one of the Witcher recently, of a Witcher comic book, like kind of series, short story. And then I have a bunch of Witcher comics. I think I have the entire series of Fading Memories. I'm looking through here. I have the Witch's Lament. Let me just make sure I have all of them here. Yes, I do. Then there's Wild Animals, which I am currently collecting comics from. I have the first 3. The 4th one's not even out yet. So there's quite a few Witcher comic books, though, that I have been collecting. I do not care for Cyberpunk. I do have, I think, 2 Cyberpunk comics, and the rest of them are digital, but I just don't give a crap, honestly. And then I said to myself, you know, I want to know more about Yasagi. I haven't got any books about Yasagi, so I decided to start with the Space Yasagi, and I have the first 2 comics in that series. So I wanted to look into that too. I'm not going to count those as free comics. But I also have Gru comics. Sadly, so I think I have, let's see, 6, I think I have 10 like Gru related comics. I think some of these are older, but I don't know to include them. I have a Gru versus Conan and a Gru and Tarzan collection, and I don't know if those are newer or older. I mean, by much anyway. So I didn't know whether to include them, but I do have at the time, not long ago anyways, one of the more recent grew, and sadly my store never got the 4th issue of that's local to me, and that sucked. And of course I have Dragon Age Dark Fortress. So that was another one. I'm gonna make sure there's no monsters around, so it's probably best I go inside and take a nap or whatever. Yeah, so those are most of the comics I have. Dark Horse, and I was surprised how much I had from Dark Horse. So I didn't, of course, have every comic, though, brought out, but I'm kind of estimating who the top 3 biggest that I have bought over the years that I own. And my friend technically gave me a few free comics that were Marvel related. So, and going through each of the comic book series, I was thinking about, like, what do I have for big books on comic book series? And then I was looking at, oh, by the way, I have the full Mass Effect collection, which I also was more recent bought, that has the whole Mass Effect collection. I think that's Dark Horse, so that just builds Dark Horse up, I think, even more. Unless it isn't all Dark Horse. So, let me get the Marvel books here and see. Ugh. I should probably not go through all of these. I'm just going to briefly say that Marvel is very close, but I think if I include the other Marvel stuff, which is Venom and the King in Black, some of the King in Black stuff that's not here right now, if I include those, which I think are some of the only other comics, I think that Marvel is technically 3rd place. Because first off, the free comics that I got from my friend shouldn't count. I didn't buy those. Free comics as well should not count. But I have bought many freaking books. Sadly, not much Star Wars, though. Like, I barely gave a crap about Star Wars, and then I stopped reading Alien. And then I just kind of stopped with most Marvel stuff. I think the only recent Marvel things that I got was the Wolverine versus Predator series. And I also did get Fantastic Four issue 15, which who wouldn't with that frickin' Doom riding a dinosaur that's dressed like him. There's also Ultraman in the past. I was a big fan of Black Knight. Then I stopped collecting a lot of those comics. There was Thor, Beta Ray Bill. I love Dark Hawk. I collected Dark Hawk and Werewolf by Night for a bit. There's also the other recent one, which is Cap Werewolf or whatever. There were several Spider-Man. Of course, I talked about Venom, a lot of Venom, but then I stopped reading Venom as well. And then X-Men and Man-Thing stuff, along with Avengers Man-Thing. But yeah, I like. There's Wolverine as well. I forgot about Black, White, and Blood. And Conan was with them for a while, but I think Conan is now back to being a Titan series, I think. There's also the Carnage comics, especially Black, White, and Blood. And there was the Fortnite Zero War and such. And then back to Ultraman, yeah, and Ultra 7. But yeah, and I would like to know who does the Kamen Rider comics. I haven't gotten any of those, but I kind of want them. I have a feeling that's like Titan or something. But yeah, I was surprised that Marvel was one of my smaller ones. I actually loved Marvel a lot of the time, probably more than DC. But like over the years, there were a lot of times where I just kind of dropped off most Marvel stuff. And Marvel's still, in my opinion, when it comes to a lot of things, kind of tied with DC. There's a lot of different things they do worse than DC. There's a lot of things they do better than DC. Though they both kind of, I think Marvel hits worse and harder in my opinion, just because of the recent bombed movies and even TV shows that Disney have been freaking ruining for both like Star Wars and Marvel and all that crap. So it does hurt quite a bit seeing that stuff. I was almost interested in picking up like their Gargoyle comics and their Hades and Maleficent and that kind of stuff, but like I struggled to really care and pay attention to like whether I wanted to pick those up or not, so I decided not to. Yeah, surprisingly, I think my number 2 biggest collection, I didn't think this comic book company was going to rise above Marvel for me, but then it did, and I was like, holy crap, that's crazy. And that's IDW. Now, IDW does a lot of different comic book series that I am interested in and invested in. And you probably know some of them just by seeing some of the stuff on my channel. And of course, one of them is like Godzilla. I've talked about Godzilla a lot lately. And then there's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I've talked about them recently. They of course I have a bunch of Transformers comics over the time too from them. I'm trying to remember what they're doing now. They also had cool ass like crossovers with like Godzilla and Power Rangers. It's actually gonna have a part 2, as well as there's gonna be some new Turtle stuff I'm looking forward to, as well as Ronin. Then they had like Transformers with Back to the Future, and yeah, I love Godzilla Rivals. There's Godzilla There Be Dragons or whatever that's called. There's a bunch of Godzilla stuff though in general, so it's like obviously I'm on board with that stuff. But yeah, I got tons of TMNT, tons of just Godzilla. it's a absurd amount that I have been collecting into. I don't really, and that's not even it, because besides that giant pile of comics, do I have the Transformers here? Hold on, I'm trying to see if I have Transformers under all this nonsense. I thought I did. Yeah, I have a bunch of best of. Oh, okay. I guess the Transformers are stored away somewhere else. So this pile is technically bigger, but then I thought, even though I have a bunch of Archie comics of this series, there were definitely a lot of Sonic comics I had from in IDW, and I have a recent one too with what's his freaking name? I actually have it here somewhere. Will I be able to find it in time though? You probably know which one it is. If you know, you know. Oh yeah, they're Beast Wars and what's that freaking other series called? King Grimlock. Yeah, that too. And I was surprised by how many comic books I've had from IDW that they surpassed Marvel. And I think if I count a lot of my older Marvel comic books, I think they're pretty much tied or very close to tying. But yeah, I do have some Marvel I do have reprints of older Marvel comics, as well as like I said, my Venom collection of comics would definitely make my Marvel pile bigger, but the Sonic collection, along with TMNT and Transformers and Godzilla, like it kind of can't be surpassed, and it's only going to grow because of the recent interesting comics that I'm invested in from IDW. I know Sonic wouldn't seem interesting, but I love supporting the Sonic comic books. They almost practically died at one point, so I want to support them best I can when I can. But yeah, I was surprised by that. And of course, somehow the king of most of them has been DC. Even though I think I haven't really bought many recent DC comics, most of the stuff I bought that was DC uh, is older stuff. But I've definitely, as I look through my collections and stuff, DC, even more recent, has surpassed both IDW and Marvel. And if I count my entire collection of DC, it surpasses everything by far. Because I have tons of Dr. Fate, so much Batman and Superman. I showed you that comic book collection video, and it's only somewhat grown from there. So, yeah, it's gotten crazy. So I was surprised how DC surpassed almost everything, even though I haven't really felt like that I've been reading or getting more recent DC stuff, but it seems DC I have somewhat. One of the most recent was the Batman Off-World, and I would definitely get all the Batman stuff in general, but like it's just too much. It's the same with Spider-Man. There's just too many Spider-Men and Spider-Man characters in general that have their own comic book series, just like with Batman, like Penguin, Poison Ivy, Catwoman, they all have their own comic books. And then I forgot there's Batman 89 Echoes is another one I'm following currently. So there are definitely a couple here and there from DC I didn't think about. I don't know about the Beast World stuff. I was thinking about getting into that stuff, but that's also kind of big. But it doesn't seem like it's too intimidating right now. It's not like there's a million in each of those series right now. I think it's mostly one or two in each section of that series. So I definitely think that of everything, IDW and DC are going to be growing the most. When I was looking on Marvel, DC, and IDW's shop, and also looking for what they have upcoming, DC and IDW, mostly IDW surprisingly, have the most stuff I'm looking forward to. I have a feeling IDW will never catch up with DC, but it might catch up with just recently bought DC stuff that isn't older stuff. Yeah, and I'm surprised by that. IDW really has become a titan in a way. From Sonic the Hedgehog, Transformers, what else was there? To TMNT. Now they're gonna have more TMNT. To Godzilla. And it's not just one series within each of those. Even though I do think Image is mostly doing Transformers stuff right now, I don't think IDW is doing too much of that, but you never know. And they could get the rights to making some new comic book series, so we'll have to see. I'm hoping that there'll be something in the future, though, for Marvel that I'll be invested in. I almost was thinking of the Spider-Man 2099, but I kind of was like, nah. I saw Man-Thing 2099, and I was like, that sounds kind of cool, but it's still not enough for me. So, yeah, I think DC and IDW have claimed as kings, but Marvel's definitely not far behind. Know that. But yeah, it's weird to think. Like, I was more of a Marvel fan back in the day, but it's kind of turned to me being more of a DC fan. Now, DC definitely has their stupid things, and when I was saying the things about the recent Aquaman movie, I still stick to what I said, but I understand that it's not a good movie, but for me, it's a movie that I enjoyed. It is just a movie that was dumb fun for me. I enjoyed it. I have a couple of laughs. And it gave me what I wanted, some battles with that gave me my favorite supervillain in DC, Black Manta. And yeah, It's definitely got problems, but I got what I wanted out of it, and I enjoyed myself. Um, it didn't do nearly as good world building as the first, but it was definitely great. And any movie that starts dwindling down um, Amber Heard's role in the movie is definitely good in my book. She's kind of treated like Jar Jar was for the prequels there, where it's like Jar Jar is so relevant in the Phantom Menace, just like Amber Heard's so relevant in the first Aquaman. So they got a bunch of screen time. Then Clone Wars comes out, it's like less screen time for Jar Jar. And then the second Aquaman comes out, less screen time for Amber Heard. Next, if they ever do a third Aquaman, she's just gonna be out. Or have one clip showing her briefly. Which is hilarious to me. But yeah, I'm glad I was able to share this with you guys. I think I'll be reading some of the more recent comic books that I get for you guys, so I can keep up with that. I will get back to looking for Group and ElfQuest. The reason I stopped with ElfQuest as recent is I know that is probably going to be the stopping point for this series / 1 hour special or whatever they're going to be having on ElfQuest when it releases on Netflix, whatever year it releases that is. So I'm definitely caught up. I also want to keep up with Beastars because I know that season's probably going to have a trailer around the corner somewhere. So we'll have to see. Know that some of my comic book series are disorganized and I don't have everything from them, so not all of them are going to be complete, sadly. But hopefully I can find a way to possibly do that in the future. But I hope you enjoyed nonetheless. And I also was thinking, so I can't remember the YouTuber's name. I love this channel though, and I am subscribed to them. You know the guys who do the Sonic merch hunt? I wanted to kind of do that. I don't know how I'm going to approach it, honestly. But I wanted to do that with a Batman merch hunt because, and I'll just say it here because right now, there's not really much, and I might not do those episodes right away. So I gotta find a way to make those work because most of the places I'd be checking are sadly smaller grocery stores. Now, if it was like a Target or something, that would work a lot better, but I don't have a Target local to me, and we don't really have really big stores local to me. So, yeah, but I got some Batman stuff. My friend actually bought me a Batman Returns Lego set. It's a very small Lego set. It just comes with a gargoyle and then a Batman Returns Lego Batman that poses with it. And then I got this really orange and this really green Batman from an antique store. I just loved how orange and green they both were. And then finally, I got really cheap and I technically got 2 of them free. And that was 5 different Hot Wheels Batmobiles recently. So that was awesome. And of course, for my comic book shop, I got Batman comics. There's a bunch of Batman figurines and all that kind of crap, from Pez's to drinks with Batman's head on top of them, just throughout the town that I live in and the different stores that I go shopping at. So, yeah, I'll have to see how that would work. And when I can do that, honestly. So don't expect it too soon, especially this month, probably not even the next. Because once again, even though the comics are trying to push back on me, I am definitely getting that spot where I want to get that good PC where I can record better. And I don't want to make any promises, and I don't want to feel like that I'm lying to you guys, so I will let you know, or you'll probably find out yourselves even, when that is up and ready and I got it. You have to realize there'll probably be other things I gotta replace. Like I probably gotta replace my Elgato and my keyboard and mouse. So we will see. And I'm guessing within the next 2 or 3 months. I would probably have things with that set up. But thank you, and I've reached 100 subscribers. I'm surprised by that, and I'm getting a lot of views on those short videos, at least a couple of them. But I'm glad nonetheless, and I hope you enjoy them. They were just to be mostly funny. So let me know what videos of mine you guys like the most. I know I'm mostly standing around. I do that a lot. I'm sorry. It helps me to focus on like the bigger discussion at hand that I'm talking about. I know I could be recording what I'm actually looking at and going through, but my phone cannot record up that much, and I gotta free up some space anyways, so there's two things in the way for that. So nonetheless, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, remember to, or found something interesting, informative, whatever it may be, remember to like, share, and subscribe. Leave your comments below. Let me know what videos of mine you like. Is it those short clips that I made? Is it the showing like the more in-person videos, like when I show my face, or as much of my face I actually show, and the other things where I'm showing like my collections or whatever, or talking about personal things, or is it gaming stuff, or is it reading alongs? What are you into? And I'll see you next time. I also had a friend say that he wants me to do, if I want to do maybe some voice acting for some of his projects that he's working on, and that's a good friend, Captain Miner. I was watching a lot of his recent Callisto Protocol live streams that he was doing, and I talked to him and one of his other friends. We had a fun time, and yeah, made some goofs and gas, making jokes back and forth, and talking about some interesting stuff with just gaming in general and such, indie games, all that kind of stuff. But this video has gone on too long, so I'll see ya. Bye, and have a